This is the first bass that I ever owned, that I ever purchased. And I love this bass. I've done a ton of things to it over the years, so I wanted to tell you about it. So this bass started its life as a Peavey Milestones III. And you can see I've blacked out the name. I blacked out the name initially because I took it to a gig one time and got made fun of for having a Peavey Milestones III on a gig. Thanks, Pat. But then later I kept it blacked out, was actually going to put my name over it because I've done so much to this bass that it's barely a Peavey Milestones III anymore. Anyway, when I got it, it was solid white. And the first major thing I had done to it was I took it to my friend Marcus, Ink Waterline, if you're looking up by username, and who's a great artist, one of my favorites, not just because he's my friend, but he does really great stuff. And I said, paint something better than white on it. Initially what he did was these purple and orange swirls, and they were cool, but they weren't really for me. So I went back to him and I said, okay, let's try again. And what he came up with was this really cool green shaded with the notes, but the best part is this backside back here with Bass McFeely, who he says is supposed to be me, but I don't know how much it looks like me. Anyway, I think he's awesome, both Marcus and Bass McFeely. So in addition to that, it's got Dunlop strap locks, which I have on pretty much all of my basses. I love them. Franklin glove leather strap, my favorite straps. The high mass bridge was added along the way. The EMG pickups, and I don't remember exactly which EMG pickups they are, which is a shame because I usually know every part of the bass inside and out. But I've tried a couple of different EMG pickups. I had the hot stacks on for a while. Those were not right for this bass at all. So my dad and I made this clear pick guard, partially so that you can see the really cool paint job that Marcus did, and partially because the pick guard is really, really thick. Your fingers don't get lost all up in underneath it, all of that sort of stuff. Added this little accessory for picks. I never really use it. I find them kind of awkward to get in and out of here, but I mean, I like using picks. I just don't use this little thing very often. The strings on it right now are Tomastic Jazz rounds, which are great and they sound good. They're a little bit floppy on this particular bass, so I'll probably switch them out. My favorite strings I ever had on this bass were the DR Lowriders, so I'll probably go back to that once these are fully spent, but for right now they're fine. I don't gig with this bass very often because most of my gigs require a 5-string. I had a quick change battery box routed and put into the back. Most of the pickups that I have tried in it are active, and these are all active all the time. So I've got to have that quick change battery box if something goes wrong in the middle of a gig. In addition, I've got this Hipshot drop D tuner back here, which I have on all of my 4-string basses. They, you know, from the front, you never know they're there. And I use it all the time, absolutely love it. And the last thing, you can probably see, Victor Wooten's autograph back here. I've seen him a ton of times, and I went to a clinic that he did and met him and asked him to sign the bass. And that's very cool. Nobody knows that's back there unless they see the back side of the bass. I was actually thinking at the time, this was a long time ago, but I was thinking at the time that I was going to try and get all of the signatures from every bass player that I met or took lessons from or whatever. Is I've met quite a few. I've met Brian Bromberg and Stanley Clark. Anyway, lots of bass players along the way, and Stu Ham, and I was going to have them all sign it. And then at some point I was like, no, I just really like the way that it looks right now. Anyway, so here is a taste of how it sounds. And right now I've got both volumes up and I've just got all of the EQ and everything centered. So it's not doing anything special or fancy. It's coming out of my Mark Bass 210, slightly EQ'd, but not very much. one that it's really clean and clear sounding, so it really invites me into playing chords and multiple notes at a time and multiple lines at a time. And because the strings are so soft, it's really easy to do that too. I can, very easily wrap around through a full and not have to work too hard at pushing down the strings or stretching or things like that. So here it is with just the front pickup. And then here it is with just the back pickup. And for me, without any further tweaking, that by itself is a little on the brittle side. It's okay, but I don't usually go full pickup one side or the other on this bass too often. Okay, so here's back to both of them full, but with the mid turned up some. No, sorry, bass turned up some. And then with the bass turned back to center and the treble turned up some. Not all the way, I'm not showing you quite its extremes, just some of what it can do. And that's a great sound on this particular bass, by the way. Back to both of those centered, and then with this particular pickup, it's got mid, and the bottom side of the mid here, I should show you guys the knobs. This is treble and bass. This is front pickup and back pickup, and this is mid with mid sweep. So this is, it's got, because it's active, it's got center détente, but the bottom part of this one is what part of the mid frequency you're affecting. So mid's cranked up, but as I sweep, you can hear different, like sometimes you get this mid sort of a sound, sometimes you get this mid sort of a sound, sometimes it's a kind of a combination of the two. Some of them are real pretty, some of them are real clanky, clacky. And there's some in there that you could almost use. It's got such a wide sweep to it that you could use it almost as a like a wah pedal of itself. Which is just really wild. I don't have too many basses that have that drastic of a mid sweep. So anyway, that is easily the most extreme example of a mid sweep on any of my basses that I've got. That's just craziness right there. You could play Shaft with that, Anyway, all right, so there is the bass with all the things I've done to it and all of its background and some audio examples, and for the 2 people in the entire world that find this interesting, I hope you enjoyed.